Hey, hey, hey. Happy Tuesday. Come on in, pull up a chair. The Gaming Gang Dispatch is in the air. Howdy, 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 gang. Welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host here at the Gaming Gang Dispatch. Welcome aboard. Tonight, I am going to be sharing a first look at Stargrave from Osprey Games. This is the latest Joseph A. McCullough miniatures system. It is a skirmish level system. So if this is your first time visiting, let me point out that I begin the show with the latest in tabletop gaming news. Might chat a little bit about different things going on, and then we will dive on into the first look at Stargrave. So if you are watching live, kick back, relax, put your feet up, make yourself at home. If you are watching after the fact and you want to skip past the tabletop gaming news, by all means, feel free to take a look at the timestamps and you can jump ahead. Of course, if this is your usual spot to be hanging out, thank you very much for stopping by to spend some time with me once again. Tonight is Tuesday, April 20th, 2021. This is live stream 651. Yes. Of course, if you like this video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and if you do subscribe, ding that bell. It'll not only let you know when the Dispatch streams live Monday through Thursday nights right here on YouTube. It'll also let you know when I upload other videos, such as my recent review, which was the 750th review on the Gaming Gang, and it was Delta Green Dark Sights. I should say Black Sights. Jeez. From Arc Dream Publishing. Yes, it was review number 750. And 751 is on the very near horizon. Of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all latest in gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. Also, since this is a live stream, that also means that chat is available. So it's not on screen. It's one of the ways that I keep some of the more unusual commenters at bay, but I do my best to pay attention to chat. So if you'd like to say howdy, maybe you got a question, a comment, by all means, fire away. I will do my best to respond. So far in chat, first out the gate was the Madman. A Great A is here with us as well. So is Flaming Huron. Kevin R. Smith is joining us once again tonight also. All right, before we really jump into the proceedings, I do want to mention that I got some really bad news today. It was not something that we didn't see coming. In fact, we sort of knew it was going to happen today. My Uncle Jimmy McAleer passed away. My dad's brother, his younger brother, had passed away. Passed away about an hour and 40 minutes ago. And my dad is actually in Chicago because my uncle was already in hospice and things this morning were not looking good. Things were looking pretty grim. So my dad headed in to the city to be with his brother. And yeah, it's some pretty bad news. I got the news 10 minutes before I started the stream. So I'm sitting there, I'm like, do I not do a show? I mean, my dad's in the city. I can't console him at the moment. And I thought, you know what? I'll actually feel way better doing a show than just sitting around here. So So here I am, gang. Anyway, thank you. I see folks in chat are offering condolences. Thank you very much. It is really, really appreciated. I tell you folks all the time that I really do appreciate everybody who watches the show and visits the website, stuff like that. I'm not blowing smoke. I'm not blowing smoke up your asses when I say that. I really do appreciate every one of you who tunes in and keep me company while I'm sitting here going through my routine. Anyway, so pretty bad news. I will point out that it was the big C among some other things, but I gotta say, my uncle, pretty tough guy, a little scrapper, one of those little Irish mix, little scrapper types. Didn't take any crap from anybody. 5 years ago, they gave him 6 months to live. So, prove them wrong. But he had been sick for quite some time, and like I said, this we knew it was coming. We didn't know it was going to necessarily be today, but so a Great Ace says hospice is now a way to live a life. I've had many friends and family in hospice. Well, it was interesting too because my aunt, when they said he was going to have hospice care, I mean, I understand hospice. People who go into hospice, normally that's end of life care. And so, there's that. Anyway, he's much better off. I mean, the past couple of years have been really not good for him. The last few months, he's in a better place. Even if there is no other place to go, at least the suffering is over. All right. Anyway, so let's switch gears. Oh, Sarah's popped in to say offer condolences. Oh my gosh. Sarah's mentioning that she lost her mom to cancer in February. That's horrible. I always hate hearing that kind of stuff. I know, it happens to us all. It's, I'm not going to be keeping the Reaper at bay by any stretch of the imagination. I know, I understand that. So, but, so Flaming Heron mentions that, his granddad passed away soon after he went into hospice care. My grandfather went into hospice care too, a few years back. And yeah, he passed within a few days. So, but at least, my uncle was home and in his own bed and surrounded by family. And it was one of those cases. I know, man, I don't mean to bum everybody out by talking about this, but it was one of those cases where you hear about it all the time that, somebody's sick and they're holding on and like people they're in the hospital and they go get a cup of coffee or they leave the room, and then that's when their family member passes on. And it was one of those cases. It was one of those cases today. So anyway, all right, Melwinius from York has arrived in chat. Good to see you, Mel. Thanks for joining us tonight. I've got a bunch of different news for us to talk about. And of course, as I mentioned after the open, we're going to take a look at Stargrave from Osprey Games in just a bit. But first off, currently up for crowdfunding from newcomers, I believe it's Bazzite Games, is Connecting Flights. Here's the latest about the Kickstarter. In Connecting Flights, players take a role of airline managers who compete for passengers and resources required to fly them to their desired destinations. Players make money for each transported passenger, with the player making the most money in the last round being the winner. The airport plane and passenger cards, which can be purchased in auctions, have been designed to join up together when laid in line in a way that visually validates all flights. Longer flights require larger fuel trucks, so management of the order of flights to different geographical destinations becomes a mini puzzle of increasing complexity as players acquire more passengers, planes, and airports. Throughout the game, players must face aviation-related events, some of which will force rearrangement of their flights. The key to victory is creating a flight network resilient to events and sabotages. Yes, you heard that word correctly. While effectively using your unique player ability and trading skills. Connecting flights can also be played in a cooperative mode with one or two players, in which players work together to fly passengers to their desired destinations. With new passengers appearing as the game goes on, players must continually adapt their flights to ensure everyone gets home before the end of the game. There is a short Kickstarter video, so let's take a peek.
Welcome aboard our flight. Please fasten your seatbelts and get ready for an adventure. Connecting Flights is a board game for 1 to 5 players and can be played competitively or cooperatively. In the competitive mode, your task is to become the most profitable airline. Starting with a single flight, throughout the game, you will buy new planes and airports to grow your network and fly passengers around the world. As your airline grows, make sure you keep your flight network efficient. You may need to rearrange your flights to keep the fuel costs low and the passengers happy. Be prepared for various aviation-related events. Some will help, others may hinder you. If your competitors get ahead, you could sabotage them, but try not to make too many enemies in case you need a favor later in the game. To win, you'll need to create the most profitable flight network by effectively using your unique player ability and trading skills. Alternatively, 1 to 2 players can play the cooperative version of the game, which is a brain teaser with customizable difficulty. Every round, new passengers appear on the board, each with a certain destination in mind. Delivering them to where they want to go is a challenging puzzle. As your airline grows, the number of routes you can create increases. Will you cope with the passenger demand and fly all your passengers to their destinations? Thank you for flying with us. Pledge now to help us take off.
Connecting Flights is for 1 to 5 players, ages 12 and up, and plays in an hour to about 2.5 hours. Project is over 300% funded. You can reserve a copy of the game and unlock stretch goals for a $49 pledge through May 13th, with an expected delivery in January of next year. Snakes on a plane. There's a snakes on a plane card. I had to chuckle when I saw that. So you're sabotaging your other airline managers, and it looks like one of the things you can do is put snakes on their plane. Wonder if there's a Samuel L. Jackson card that goes with that as well to counter that. This could be kind of interesting. I thought looks like it might be kind of fun. I have a soft spot for aviation games, although I got to admit I don't get a chance to play a lot of them. All right, moving right along. Currently hitting stores from Giochi, otherwise known as Da Vinci Games, is Deckscape Crew versus Crew. Here's the skinny. Blackbeard's treasure is every greedy pirate's dream, but only the smartest crew can take it. Follow the map to distant islands filled with gunpowder, puzzles, and adventure. Deckscape Crew vs. Crew Pirates Island is part of a series of games inspired by real escape rooms in which a group of people is trapped inside a room full of puzzles and odd items. The goal of the game is to solve puzzles, understand the plot of the story, and make intelligent use of the items provided in order to escape from the room as quickly as possible. Deckscape Crew vs. Crew Pirates Island differs from other Deckscape titles by adding a competitive element to the game. Players split into 2 teams and try to correctly solve the puzzles before the other team does. This chapter also features puzzle-based mini-games specifically designed for a competitive experience. Each duel can bring more shiny doubloons to your stash. Which crew will win? Let the challenge begin. Get ready to board. Deckscape Crew versus Crew Pirate Island is for 2 to 6 players, ages 12 and up, plays in around 30 to 90 minutes, and it should carry an MSRP of around $14.90. Reason why I say that is I have not seen a US dollar amount, but the Deckscape games that have a little bit more going on to them usually carry an MSRP of $14.90. And I did see some Euro MSRPs that look like should be about right. So Flaming Heron mentions that hopefully there's fewer expletives if Samuel L. Jackson's involved with that Connecting Flights game. Well, I'm sure it wouldn't be, a Samuel L. Jackson card, but they could kind of play off that, right? So, yes, and Kevin R. Smith was asking, I wonder how many years it'll be before that pandemic card, yes, that we saw in Connecting Flights, looks like a bizarre curiosity. I don't know. Just like, gosh, I can't remember the company name off the top of my head, but they're going to release a Plague Inc. board game. I think there's 2 of them coming based on the computer game. And I thought, do I want to share that news? I don't know. Maybe I'll share it tomorrow. I'm not positive. There's an interesting looking light fantasy miniatures game, which is available from One Page Rules. Here's the latest on Age of Fantasy. Age of Fantasy is a single-page miniatures game set in a dark, magical world designed to be easy to learn, but hard to master. Ugh, I hate when companies use that term. The game is played with 40 to 50 models per army, giving you very big battles that can actually be played in 60 to 90 minutes. Players put together an army and fight over objective points to control the battlefield, using combined arms tactics to win. The game features alternating activations and brutally quick combat, keeping both players engaged at all times. Age of Fantasy is a miniature war game set in a dark magical world, which is played using 28mm miniatures. The game mechanics are designed to be easy to learn, but once again, hard to master, being engaging fantasy battles for new and experienced players alike. The rule book, which is more than just 1 page, includes 3 sections: basic rules, everything you need to play the game with plenty of diagrams and examples; advanced rules, which are extra rules that you can use on top of the basic rules to spice up the game; and total conversions, rules that radically modify the base rules and provide a new experience. One Page Rules recommends that you start off by playing with just a few advanced rules first, and then gradually add more as you get more comfortable with them. Age of Fantasy is the 1 page is available absolutely free. There are army lists. There's a bunch of army lists. They're also available for free. If you'd like to get the 44 page, I think it's 44 or 41. One of the two, 41 or 44. If you want to get the actual rule book where you're actually seeing images of the pages from, you can get that by actually supporting One Page Rules on their Patreon. And I believe you just need to support at a $5 level in order to score that. There's also I want to say a skirmish edition of this as well, called Age of Fantasy Skirmish, that you might want to take a peek at also. So trying to share some more miniatures game news and information than I have sometimes in the past, because I actually am a big miniatures fan. I only own the rights to Knights and Magic from Heritage. The old, 1980 is when that came out. So very, very cool. So the Man says Endemic Creations designed Plague Inc. Agrede says they think it's Zadu that is going to carry it overseas. I am not familiar with Zatu at all. All right, moving right along. 4 new releases are available for the Fragged Empire series of role-playing games. Here's the details from Design Ministries and Modiphius Entertainment. First off, we have Fragged Eternum Adventure, Endless Depths. It is part 1 and 2. During their travels, well, actually, Cesar Perez has joined us in chat. Welcome aboard, Cesar. This is the first time that Cesar's joined us, and mentions that one-page adventures is awesome and free. There you have it. Definitely check that out. All right, so first off, we've got Fragged Eternum Adventures. It is Endless Depths, part 1 and 2. During their travels, the tethered have begun to regularly see flyers advertising a small bounty for anyone who can find a missing set of twins. Normally, the tethered would not get involved with something as common as this, but a brief interaction with the person posting up these flyers will change their minds. Funny thing is, I have to laugh. When I first saw flyers, I'm thinking, are you talking about like there's like aircraft flying by with banners? It's like, no dummy, flyers, like paper flyers. All righty then. Albrecht is the one nailing up the flyers and will quickly notice one of the well-armed PCs looking at his bounty. He'll quickly introduce himself as the father of the twins and implore them to listen to his story over a drink. People have been going missing all around the area for decades. Their bodies never recovered. This sounds like the work of a dark cult or a fiend. This 44-page soft cover should carry an MSRP of approximately $18.99. It is available now in PDF at DriveThruRPG for $9.50. Then we've got Fragged Eternum Greyberg Market. The Scarsburn River draws fleets of mercantile vessels from the vast reaches of Eternum to Greyberg Market, there to divest their exotic cargo and disembark cloaked strangers from far-flung places. The market is a crossroads and a dumping ground for some of the most arcane and esoteric oddities coughed up by vagabonds, traders, the dead, and the dissolute. All goods and services imaginable can be found for sale among the market's sprawling warrens of shops, stalls, tents, and stands. And for the right price, any dream can be bought, and nightmares are sold for a song. The 165-page hardcover carries an MSRP of approximately $48.99, or you can grab it in PDF for $18. Then we've got the Fragged Empire, Rachel Swagger's Guide to Mishpasha. Explore the awesome region-based expansion for the Fragged Empire RPG. Includes 3 new playable races, Oni, Talatl, and Half-Bloods, 13 maps, 25 new locations, 16 racial traits, over 40 new miscellaneous items, new minion weapons, and new colony rules. Once again, this is another 165-page hardcover. Should carry an MSRP approximately $48.99, or grab it in PDF for $18. Then finally, we have the Fragged Kingdom, Arcane Bay. During their travels, the tethered have begun to regularly see, wait a second, it's the same thing. It's the same news item from the other adventures. That's not right. This is a totally different adventure. Hey, I'm just sharing what came from Modiphius and I just cut and pasted. So, sorry. Anyway, so I know this is another adventure book. It is 165 pages. Once again, this hardcover should carry an MSRP of around $48.99. It is available in PDF at DriveThruRPG for $18. Zoinks! It's like, what? Wait a second, this is the same exact adventure? What the hell's going on here? Sorry about that. Anyway, so These are all available to order from Modiphius. I got to say, and I'm going to ask those of you in chat right now, or if you're watching after the fact, if you want to comment in the comment section, I'm kind of curious about Fragged Empire. I have heard of it, and I do understand it's kind of a post-apocalyptic setting, and that's about all I know about it. Gotta say, the artwork looks pretty good, looks pretty interesting. I get the feeling that it is probably, I don't want to say it's like a super, like really dark setting. It doesn't seem to be like grim dark at all, especially because of the art style, especially this book that we're looking at right now. But it sounds kind of interesting. So I'm kind of curious. Maybe I wonder if it's along the lines of Mutant Year Zero. Although, yes, I know, completely different companies. So, all right. Finally, there is a 5e campaign book which caught my eye over at Dungeon Masters Guild. Here's a skinny on Zakara, Adventures in the Land of Fate. Hold on to your magic carpet. This book is your ticket to the wondrous land of Zakara, a land of devious visors, clever shayirs, mischievous genies, and enough adventure to entertain you for 1,001 years or more. Separated from the rest of the Forgotten Realms by jagged cliffs and treacherous seas, Zakara has a culture all its own. A culture inspired in equal parts by the Arabian Nights and Hollywood glamour. Whether you're a longtime fan with tons of old books and source boxes, a new traveler interested in these southern lands, or anywhere in between, Adventures in the Land of Fate has you covered. Within this volume, you'll find an overview of the lands, cities, and peoples, new character classes and kits, Zakarian weapons and equipment, power groups vying for control of the land, new monsters and NPCs for your game, as well as an introductory adventure to get you started. So what are you waiting for? Grab your scimitar, buckle your lamar, tuck in your jambayaya, and prepare for adventure. And remember, we have no fate, but the fate which we are given. This 290-page source book for 5e is available through Dungeon Masters Guild as a hardcover, which includes the PDF, for $54.99. You can snag the soft cover with that PDF for $44.99, or just snag the PDF alone for $19.99. Cool. Gotta say, this looks pretty interesting. Pretty nice artwork, although I have to admit, looks like the art style is a bit of a mix, which is okay as long as everything's pretty cool. So pretty nice. And I understand that this is burning it up over at English, Jeff, English. Sometimes I start like reading something on the teleprompter and I'm reading chat and trying to talk at the same time. And that never leads to anything good coming out of my mouth. Yowza. All right. So Kevin had mentioned they had never heard of Fragged Empire until now. It's been out for a while. Fragged Empire, because I remember actually sharing a news piece from Modiphius when it came out. I don't think I was doing a live show at that time. So maybe 3-4 years it's been out. I got to be honest, I have not heard of anything like coming out for it from Modiphius, but the PDFs for some of those releases have been out for a while. Some of them have been out, look like since like early 2020. So this is the first time that they're actually going to see print, but could be pretty cool. Could be pretty nice. I wish I got to check out more stuff from Modiphius. They're super hit or miss. As I mentioned before, Paizo can be kind of hit or miss on stuff, and then stuff just shows up out of nowhere, like the Pathfinder Bestiary 3 that we took a peek at. But Modiphius is sometimes I get a PDF. Usually I don't. And they just send me an email saying, "Hey, there's a PDF for you, Drive Through RPG." It's kind of how things work. So Kevin was wondering if it's a 2D20. I don't think it is. I don't, because it's not in-house. It is from a company, Design Ministries. So I don't think that would be a 2D20 system. So El Kadim, the Madman points out, it's been a long time since they played that setting. So, so Grade A's pointing out somebody has a great show that goes through the source book offering perspective on this book. There's a Grade A once again talking up other people's shows. So, and it, like I said, it's selling pretty well. Kevin Smith's like, yep, they understand that those 2E settings tend to have pretty big fan bases. And Melwinius is saying they would like to see a revamp of Greyhawk. Not going to see it. And of course, Dragonlance, that we might see. Greyhawk, I highly doubt. That was Gary Gygax's baby. And I mean, Wizards of the Coast hasn't shown a lot of interest in Greyhawk at all since maybe third edition. So they throw it a bone. They mention it on occasion in some of their books, but it's just they'll say, "Oh, if you want, you could set these adventures in Greyhawk or the Forgotten Realms or Dark Sun or what," and that's about all they really say. So, So who was that just said that? Flaming Heron says drive-through list of publishers, Design Ministries. Yep, right. Says it's a 3D6 game. Modiphius does not have another version. Modiphius is actually just publishing their books, which is what Modiphius does in some cases. In fact, I don't know if they're still publishing the Free League books or not, but Free League Publishing in English was produced by Modiphius Entertainment. So I don't know if that's still the case or not. So the Madman says they wouldn't mind seeing a 5e Dark Sun. That was a pretty cool setting. I think what I most remember about it is the artwork from Brahm. I mean, that's what I really think. So Flaming Earth says, just don't drop channel names. We'll all be happy. It's okay. It's all right. Indigo Dragons joined us in chat. Welcome back. Good to see you. So Kevin R. Smith says Ghosts of Saltmarsh has been their biggest tip of the hat to Greyhawk so far in 5e. Yes, that is true. I like that book. I thought that book was pretty decent, even though it was essentially adventures that we'd seen before for the most part. So Indigo Dragon was asking if El Kadim was, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, was announced for 5e recently. Not that I'm aware of. I have not heard anything. And usually I do get press releases from Wizards about like big announcements and things like that. All right. Anyway, so we are going to jump into Stargrave from Osprey Games in just a moment. But I do want to mention, so I was talking a little bit about Dungeon Crawl Classics yesterday, and I had pointed out that I had ordered their first time fan kit because it was back, the dice were back in stock, the Zashi dice. Or yeah, it is. Yeah, it's Zashi. See, when Kabuki Kid used to hang out all the time for the show, which I don't know, it must have scared her away. I have no idea. Just like I scared away Dan from No Enemies Here, I guess, because we haven't seen Dan in a long time. But I think Dan's more doing his own shows and stuff. Because I know, I think Dan does some interviews in that, and they usually conflict with the Dispatch. But I remember it was like, I said Zoshi Dice or something like that. And it was like, no, that's not it. And I could have swore that she was saying that it was pronounced Zaki or something like that. So anyway, so I had been listening to, there's a point to this story. So I'd been listening to the Spellburn podcast. I know, I'm dropping names of another show. A great Ace says it's also dinner time for Dan. Yes, Dan's eating his mushrooms. He's drinking whiskey and eating his mushrooms. Anyway, so I thought, hey, you know, I'd been reading the PDF that came with my purchase because I just ordered the kit on Saturday. Although I'm surprised I haven't gotten an email yet saying it's shipped or anything. But it's coming from California. Anyway, so I thought, I'm going to listen to that Spellburn podcast, which I had actually listened to a couple episodes a long time ago. So I'm actually listening to episodes I think are from like 2013, something like that. So they had a guest on, and I guess the podcast network that Spellburn, at least at that time, was part of, had some other shows, and this person was from another show that was an AD&D show, who I guess these guys who are the hosts at the time, because I know that's all changed over at Spellburn. They have completely different hosts. But anyway, I guess one of the hosts at the time was also on this other show. So they brought this person on, Guy, and they had given him the Dungeon Crawl Classics rule book to check out. And they wanted his thoughts on, you know, what he thought about the book. And off the top of my head, I don't remember the person's name. I don't remember the other podcast he was from. But I was like, I hope I don't sound like this guy when I'm talking about role-playing games from the past, because this guy was like just all cranky and bitchy, and it was like, and you know, he kind of liked DCC and he kind of didn't like DCC, and then they, you know, the other hosts would talk about something and then he'd poo-poo it. And it was kind of funny because, like I said, I was like, oh man, I hope this is not how I sound when I talk about like old role-playing games and being a game master and things like that. And for one, he kept calling himself a grognard, that is not the pronunciation of the word. And I know a lot of people say it that way, but that is, if you are a grognard, you know how to pronounce the word. Didn't know how to pronounce Cthulhu, which, yes, I know a lot of people say that is not how it's pronounced, but the vast majority pronounce it that way. Neil Gaiman pronounces it that way. All these different horror authors, Stephen King pronounces it that way. So I pronounce it Cthulhu. He was pronouncing it like some way no one has ever pronounced it, but like Cthulhu. And I was like, God, man. Oh, and then the other part was he kind of ran them through a little something, and he was awful. It was like, oh my God, this is like the bad dungeon master. I was like, no. And it was funny because I'm sitting there, I'm like, oh, thank God he's only on this episode. He's only on this episode. So Grady says they know people who say warder. I've heard that too. Warder. So Flaming Heron says, is he trying to look trendy? We're talking, this podcast was probably 8 years ago, 7, 8 years ago. So I don't know. And it was funny. And he had this like attitude of like, oh, well, I've been playing role-playing games since 1980. It's like, yeah. So, I've been playing since 1978. Don't hear me going off about shit. It's like, jeez. Anyway, I just thought it was funny. So hopefully, when I talk role-playing games, I don't come across like I'm talking down to you out there, because I certainly never want to be that way. I don't think I come across that way. Or like a know-it-all. I'm a know-it-all. I'm the first person to say, I don't know. It's like, so that's why I'll sit there and go, hey, Grade A, you probably know about this, right? Tell us. So Grade A also says people who say drawings instead of drawings. Now, I've known people who said drawings. So Kevin says, I don't sound condescending at all. Thank you. I would hope not. Because I'm one of you. That's how I look at it. Yeah, we're gamers. That's why we're hanging out during the show. We're gamers. Granted, some of us like different stuff, and that's awesome with me. You will never hear me sit there and tell somebody, oh, you're an idiot because you like XYZ game. Maybe it's not my bag of tricks, but that doesn't give me free reign to tell somebody that they're having the wrong fun. No. So Flaming Heron says, he sounds like one of those gatekeepers trying to restrict people and say he's some sort of an expert. Well, it's funny because remember yesterday I told you how I got the email saying that this person can't wait till fat, old, straight white men like me are dead and gone from the hobby. It's like, and it was funny because then I listened to this podcast last night after the fact. And I'm like, shit, that's the sort of guy he's talking about. I'm like, that's not me. I don't do that. So Grade A says there's like 120 episodes of Spellburn, and they've listened to maybe half of them. It's actually a pretty decent podcast. I think I listened to one of the more recent ones where I think the main host is a woman talking about, because like GM and DCC parlance is judge. You're the judge, which actually kind of fits my viewpoint of like old school games, which Dungeon Crawl Classics really isn't. And when I do my review, I will talk about that a little bit. But yeah, there you go. A Grade A says Judge Jen. Yes, that's exactly it. So, but yeah, I think it's pretty decent. I think it's a decent podcast. Some of the stuff that they play, like their little gosh, I'm trying to remember the name. They're bumpers, the little bumpers that they'll do kind of get old. So yes, Grade A says Job, Jeff, and Jim all left. Yes. And now it's newer people. Yeah, I knew that. And I think it's been that way for a while. So, but yeah, pretty good. Pretty cool. Look for my Dungeon Crawl Classics review probably after I receive it. Because tonight I'll be, once I finish up some of the stuff and getting tomorrow's show ready, I will be probably reading through Doom of the Savage Kings is the adventure that's coming with that kit. So I figure I might as well just read the PDF so I'm all ready to go. All right. Anyway, some other stuff I wanted to talk about. So I've talked about Ratcatcher. I did a news piece about Ratcatcher, and I got it today. And it came from China, and I had to laugh because it went from some city in China that I'm not familiar with, and it went to Beijing, and from Beijing it came to Chicago. Now remember, I live in the suburbs of Chicago. And then it went to Indianapolis. And then it came here. I was like, why the hell did it go to Indianapolis? It's weird. Sometimes the way these shipping companies do stuff, it is bizarre. Came FedEx. So anyway, so I get this box. And for one, I think it's kind of funny. So it looks as if Platypus Industries, who is the game company that makes Ratcatcher, sent me all the stuff that's from the Kickstarter. So there's pins and there's a dice tray, one of those mouse fabric dice trays that snap together in that. And there's little like rat meeples and stuff. And of course, the game itself. So I'm like, sweet, very cool. So I'm looking forward to it because it's a solitaire game and it's got a kind of cool art style as well. So I'm looking forward to it. Keldon is joining us tonight in chat. Welcome aboard. I believe you are a first-time visitor. So thank you very much for swinging on in. Kevin says, oh, there are people in the OSR who get down on story gamers and indie gamers and younger players who like Dragonborn and tieflings and exotic races in D&D. I'm not like that. I am not like that at all. In fact, with Dungeon Crawl Classics, I think the whole races class is fine, but I'm not a huge fan. I am looking to run a probably Sailors on the Starless Sea, which is a 0-level funnel. I'm probably going to run that, and I don't mind the races class. It's just not my bag of tricks. I've always liked the AD&D approach, where you've got your class, you've got your race, you got your racial modifiers, things like that. But that's cool. That's all right. Okay. Anyway, Indigo Dragon says, I like the OSR, but I don't claim to be an OSR gamer. I just like RPGs. As Keldon points out, if it's fun, you're doing it right. Doesn't matter how. I talk about that all the time. I will have another episode of So You Want to Be a Game Master shortly. I've been trying to take care of some review stuff, getting that stuff ready. My interview with Satine Phoenix and Jameson Stone will be up tomorrow morning, because originally I thought the Kickstarter was launching on Tuesday. So I was going to do an interview on Monday, get that up. And then I realized, oh, it's on Thursday. So I know with as many videos that pop up on the channel and the other stuff that goes up on the website, I didn't want to have it get buried. So that will be up tomorrow morning, about 8 o'clock my time. So Sarah says that I'm lucky. FedEx usually sends their stuff from Chicago to Indiana, then to Kentucky, then to Iowa, and then it comes back to Illinois. Crazy. All right. I will talk about what's coming up the rest of the week as well as into next week at the end of the show. I am going to be taking a look at Stargrave, which is from Osprey Games, in just a second. If you're watching live, we're going to jump right on in. If you are watching after the fact, about 12 hours after the stream ends after the fact, you're going to see a quick commercial. So hang with it, and we'll get right on into it. So I'm taking a peek at Stargrave, which is from Osprey Games. It's written by Joseph A. McCullough. This hardcover does carry an MSRP of $35. It's arriving in stores on April 29th. So it is on its way. All right. So swinging on over to the other camera here, I've got Stargrave, science fiction war games in the Ravaged Galaxy. So Indigo Dragon says, the only rat catcher I ever heard of was from Warhammer Fantasy RPG. Yes, and the rat catcher is actually a pretty decent character to start off with, because you have that mean little dog. All right, we'll take a look at the back here. Science fiction war games in the Ravaged Galaxy. In a galaxy torn apart by the last war, vast pirate fleets roam from system to system, robbing, extorting, and rounding up slaves Any attempt to form any kind of central authority larger than a city-state is quickly and brutally crushed. In this dark time, the only way to survive is to stay small and inconspicuous. Amidst this chaos, however, thousands of independent crews manage to carry on their business. Smugglers, relic hunters, freedom fighters, and mercenaries roam the dead stars in small ships, scratching out a living any way they can. All right, let's jump on in here. So, of course, I'm going to stay picture in picture up here. And I am not going to show off every single page of the book, but we are going to look at a lot of it. So the first thing I'm actually curious about with Stargrave is one of the knocks that I had heard about Frostgrave, which I got to be honest, I've actually not seen in a lot of detail. But one of the things I had heard about it was that it was kind of bare bones to start off with. And of course, Osprey Games released a lot of various different supplements, as well as that's, I think it's a standalone, the jungle one. And I'm kind of curious if they'll be packing more into this. So of course, Joseph A. McCullough is the creator of the aforementioned Frostgrave, as well as Rangers of the Shadow Deep. So there's some discussion going on about role-playing games. Kevin says they have fond memories as race, as class, and basic D&D. And Indigo Dragon says the right system to play is the one you're playing, right? You know, kind of funny, back to a little bit of the RPG stuff. I find that there are a lot of people out there who they'll look at a role-playing game book and they'll be like, yeah, you know, I'd like to play this. I don't know if I'd want to run it. So, all right, so we get assembling a crew, creating your captain. So we got various different backgrounds. So Great A says, Joseph says it's always meant to be bare bones to leave room for players to interpret as needed. I don't know about that. That reminds me of something I've heard about Dungeon Crawl Classics, because there are a few things that I'm not super keen on about the game. That some of the rules could be much clearer, and I heard that's kind of Joseph Goodman's shtick on that as well. Is that, well, you know, we wanted to leave it, you know, kind of open to interpretation. That is not something you want to do for role-playing games. So, I mean, you can certainly kit bash things and change things however you want, but it's usually a good idea that when you have a rules mechanic, that it makes sense. All right, so we got the different backgrounds for your captains. We got choosing powers. So we got the various different miniatures there, which I'm going to take a guess are probably from Northwind. I think they're from Northwind miniatures. So we get a first mate, and then we get recruiting our soldiers. So with Frostgrave, somebody correct me if I'm wrong. Frostgrave, I believe you have your mage, you've got an apprentice, and then you've got kind of like mercenaries that you hire, soldiers, things like that. So we get a standard soldier table. So we've got recruits, runners, hackers, chiselers, guard dog, sentry, trooper, medic, codebreaker, case cracker, commando, pathfinder, sniper, grenadier, burner, gunner, armored trooper. Well, there's quite a few there. Temporary crew members. I like, so Grade A says North Star miniatures. Thanks, a Grade A. I like skirmish games. I like skirmish games with miniatures because, number one, your buy-in cost is pretty low. You don't need to have 100 miniatures all ready to go. So a Grade A says it's a skirmish story game, not a competitive tournament game. Completely get that. So you had different weapons, armor. Yeah, but miniatures gamers tend to be sticklers for the most part. I guess that's a politically correct term to use. Yeah, they're sticklers. So we got our rules, setting up the table, the turn. So we have initiative, we have different phases. It says every turn is divided into 4 phases: captain phase, first mate phase, soldier phase, and creature phase. So we got some discussion of that as well. Talking about activation, movement, different kinds of movement: swimming, jumping, combat, multiple combats. Some examples here as well. Talking about shooting. Pretty cool artwork. Got to say, the artwork looks pretty nice. Shooting into combat. Shooting with a flamethrower. Extreme results. There we go. Some critical hits. Got damage, stuns, different powers. So one aspect of the Osprey Games releases for like the role-playing games and for their miniatures games is they don't seem, well, okay, Frostgrave had a lot of support. A lot of their other stuff doesn't. And they'll have like cool stuff come out. What was it? Dracula's America? That was a book that looked pretty cool. That looked like a pretty cool skirmish miniatures game. And I think they did the core book, and I think they did a supplement, and I think that was it that they did. And of course, I understand if something's not, super popular. But even some of their role-playing games, like I reviewed it's the role-playing game that what is it? Paleomythic. I keep wanting to say Polyomythic. It's like, no. Paleomythic, which I thought was a pretty good core book. I thought it was pretty interesting. In fact, they used my review video on the Drive-Thru RPG page for the PDF. And that was it. They had the core book. That was it. Nothing else ever came out. So Indigo Dragon says that Osprey's done some interesting RPGs. Yes, I agree. Yes. And Indigo Dragon mentions, yes, Paleomythic. So, so Melwinius is asking, is it like a Games Workshop investment to get into these Osprey tabletops? And a Great A says no. And I can confirm as well that it is not. Usually, from my understanding, at least talking about like Joseph McCullough's stuff, 10 minis on a side. And then, of course, you got, terrain and stuff. All right, so we have those are like permanent injuries, experience and level. Nice. Counting loots, different kinds of loot, advanced technology. Got a table about some of the advanced technology. I believe we've got different missions in this book as well. We'll see what we get. So Indigo Dragon says they really like jackals a lot. We are taking a look at that on Thursday, actually. In fact, that's something I'll be talking about when we wrap up the show. All right, so we've got alien artifacts. Reason why I'm zipping through some of these pages really fast is because of pirates. I never thought people would be so desperate that they would screenshot my videos, which if you go full screen on this, if you go like 1080p, it's not super clear for a reason. Never thought somebody would do that. And then they did. So, yeah, I was like, okay. So here we have spending your loot, balancing scenarios. We've got some powers, adrenaline surge, armor plates, bait and switch, command, control robot, control animal. Looks like we've got quite a few powers here. That's cool. Anyway, so I was talking about skirmish games, and back in the day, I played, well, it was essentially, it was Warhammer 40K Epic when I played it. They've had umpteen different names. When I first got into it, it was what was it? Adeptus Titanicus or something like that. And I used to get White Dwarf all the time. I was picking up White Dwarf before they even had minis games. But they had Necromunda, I think that's how it's pronounced. And that was it was a skirmish game, in the hive cities and stuff. And there's scenarios. And I thought that was really cool. And I liked how you could level up and you got better gear and, you had permanent injuries and stuff like that. I always liked that. So I like that style of play with skirmish. So Flaming Heron says maybe they just like my face in the corner of the copies of the books. Well, the thing was, I wasn't doing the picture in picture. So, and it was a D&D book that I did a page through. And I mean, I flipped through pretty quickly, and somebody sent me the file. It was floating around on those pirate sites. So I was like, really? And of course, that was until somebody had the scan of the book. And then, of course, nobody cared about, my video anymore, or at least the screenshots from it. But yeah, I thought, wow, that's kind of sad. So we've got, let's see what missions we've got. So we've got the Botched Deal. We have Salvage Crew. Steam Vents of the Undercity. Almost looks like a Western setup there. Special rules for Steam Vents. We got the Data Vault. Sky Mine. The Broken Fence. That's kind of cool. Almost looks like Greedo. Yes, Han shot first. So Flaming Heron says, yeah, they weren't into miniature games and still bought White Dwarf. It was just my thing. Yeah, it was pretty good. I have my qualms. I have my issues with Games Workshop, especially how they treat retailers. I'm not a big fan of that. Maybe they've changed over the past few years. Maybe they haven't. But and of course their pricing is insane. But I have to admit, their stuff's usually pretty cool. So we got the Derelict Warship, the Overgrown Factory, Fire Moon, and then we have a Bestiary. So we got random encounters, we've got unwanted attention, or creature list. So one thing I noticed, we don't have a lot of images. And I would think the reason why is so that you can kind of incorporate whatever mini you might have or you might be able to get from someplace that kind of has a feel like, or kind of looks like what they're saying. So Great A says Mordheim was Games Workshop's best game. Wasn't that horror? Wasn't that what Mordheim was? It was kind of a Warhammer Fantasy horror game. So we got the Repair Bot. That looks straight out of Star Wars. Sentry Bots. Sewer Dragon. War Bots. Warpound. And then we've got an attributes list. There's a lot in here. So as far as, there we go, North Star military figures. So those are where the miniatures are from. So as far as looking through this, it doesn't look like they're skimping on a lot of detail. So Grade A says Mordheim was the fantasy version of Necromunda. Okay, cool. All right, so we've got some like roster sheets here. Looks like we've got some cards for the various different powers. Some templates. That's kind of, and actually the funny thing is, oh, maybe not. Yeah. No, same paper stock. And we get some quick reference. All told, 176 pages. Nice. So I believe we have somebody new who just popped in. Quest Friend. Nice. Very cool. Welcome aboard. I believe this is the first time we've had Quest Friend visit us. So kick back, make yourself comfortable. So their question is, so Stargrave, what do you have instead of a wizard leader character? Looks like you've got a captain. Looks like you got a captain, first mate, and you've got your soldiers as well, is what it seems to be with this. Of course, I will have a review of Stargrave in the very near future. So Quest Friend says, nope, this is like the fourth time. Yeah, sometimes the nicknames don't click in my head. Sorry. It's yeah, we've got a couple of people pop in and I'm like, hey, is this the first time you're here? And it's like, no, man, this is like the 100th time. It's like, what's wrong with you, Jeff? All right. So as I mentioned, I will have a review of Stargrave in the very near future. Once again, it is from Osprey Games, written by Joseph A. McCullough. It is going to hit stores on April 29th, carrying an MSRP of $35. Cool beans. All right. So what's popping on the show? So of course, I'm going to have a funeral I'm going to need to attend. So of course, at this point in time, I have no idea when that's going to be. So things could change as far as what's coming up. Also, I have to point out, on Tuesday, I have an appointment in Chicago. I think it's early enough where I'd be back out here to the Duct Tape Studios in time to do a show. Fingers crossed. So we'll see what's going on. Anyway, on tomorrow's show, I am going to page through, take a first look at Polyversal from Collins Epic War Games. This is a 6mm near future science fiction game here. So pretty epic battles. This is from my pal Byron Collins. So we're going to take a peek at that. If you've been hanging out for a while, you probably heard me mention Thursday, we're looking at Jackals, which is the Bronze Age role-playing game from Osprey Games. On Monday, I've got all these things stacked off to the side. We're going to take a look at Ratcatcher, or I should say the Ratcatcher, which is from Platypus Industries. I was talking about how this just showed up today. So we will look at all the extra goodies as well. So we're going to look at the mouse pad material dice tray. We're going to look at, there's a little expansion with some like more powerful rats. So this is a solitaire fantasy game. So it's kind of cool. Taking a look at the back here. Try to get rid of some of that glare. So that is going to be on Monday's show. Then on Tuesday, we are going to look at a bunch of the Not Alone releases from Stronghold Games. So I'm going to show Not Alone, which I have played before. Elliot Miller, back when he was part of the Gaming Gang, he did a review of this, but we never did any video for it. So I'm going to take a look at this. Also look at the expansion Sanctuary and Exploration. So we're going to look at all three of those releases on Tuesday's show. All right, that is it for this time out. Thank you, everybody, for your condolences tonight. Really do appreciate it. It means a lot. It really does mean a lot to me. So those of you who were watching live, of course, thanks for hanging out, keeping me company. If you like this video, regardless if you're watching live or on Memorex, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't already. And if you do, ding that bell. It will not only let you know when the Gaming Gang Dispatch airs live Monday through Thursday nights right here on YouTube, It'll also let you know when I upload other videos, such as tomorrow's interview with Satine, Phoenix, and Jameson Stone. We are going to talk about the new 5th edition supplement hitting Kickstarter on Thursday. It's called Sirens Battle of the Bards. Of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all the latest in gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. Crazy night. All right, so I will be back tomorrow. Like I said, we're going to be taking a look at Polyversal. And of course, everybody enjoy the rest of your Tuesday night, Wednesday morning, or whatever day it happens to be. I definitely appreciate everybody watching the show. Anytime you stop by and watch any of the videos, thank you very much. And of course, as I wrap up all my videos during this never-ending pandemic, I certainly hope every single one of you out there is being smart and staying safe. Oh, hey, you're still here. Well, if that's the case, by all means, if you haven't subscribed to the Gaming Gang channel yet, click right here. If you'd like to see the latest episode of the Gaming Gang Dispatch, click right up there. And if you want to trust YouTube's algorithm to give you something to watch, click right there. Once again, thanks so much for watching. And everybody, please wear a mask.